Don't get your feelings hurt. Read this.
Welcome to Short Film Roundup.
Short Film Roundup.
Hell yeah.
Coming to you live from Payman's Void, three cursed filmmakers analyzing short films. That's what we do.
Payman's a demon.
Payman's a demon.
What a demon that guy is.
It's all in the lore.
What a demon.
We got lore. Can we say that?
We got lore.
I'd call it lore, sure.
Okay, yeah,
Once upon a time, we were cursed by a demon who makes us stay in this place. We can't go anywhere, so we analyze short films, and we all become better filmmakers.
So,
Man, it's good to be at the round table again. Been a long time.
What was with that thing?
If
we were sick?
we had any
Why were
sense
we
of
sick?
time.
True.
So this is a short film show where you can submit your short film to us, and you can watch us tear it apart, and we'll put this video on both YouTube and Facebook in our group called Film Alchemists.
Yes. That's the place to be, really.
That is the best experience for Short Film Roundup. If you're into this sort of thing, you're into analyzing films, learning, becoming a better filmmaker, diving into the deep philosophical concepts behind making great movies, join us at Film Alchemists on Facebook, where we not only review user-submitted short films, but we deep dive into all kinds of concepts, have awesome conversations, review movies, and all sorts of stuff.
We have chats with other filmmakers as well.
Live chats with filmmakers.
And feature film reviews.
Yep,
as well.
Yep. Talkies Live.
Talkies Live.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of cool content on there.
It's fun and a little satanic.
In a bit.
Because we are overseen by a demon. So it does get a little dark.
So it's
easy. It's hard PG-13, I'd say.
It's how it goes.
Yeah.
So today we are talking about a film called Death of Humanity, or The Death of Humanity.
Yes, directed by Jéan Di Coque.
Jéan Di Coque. That's
Yep.
right. Jéan.
Self-proclaimed visionary filmmaker.
On his YouTube page, he calls himself a visionary filmmaker. That is a guy. That is a person.
Every week we announce the next upcoming film that we're about to cover in our next episode, so you guys can watch them ahead of time and be primed and ready for our analysis. We make those announcements in Film Alchemist. If you haven't seen this movie yet, use the link below because we're about to spoil everything.
Yes, we are. And this is one you don't want to have spoiled.
Whew, that ending.
Let's talk a little bit about it. What can we learn from Jéan Di Coque's visionary vision? Taylor, why don't you get us started?
This movie is to me, this movie is about humanity poisoning the planet and climate change and how that's going to kill everybody. That's what I got out of this movie.
Now, would you say you got that out of this film because of the title and this?
The title, the
words.
Well, not really the words. That's actually my biggest issues. I felt like the words weren't connected at all. I don't know what the words are talking about.
The Japanese was?
The Japanese ones were.
Yeah.
We did take the time to translate the Japanese.
Yes. But like all the shots, we're in a crowded place. We're in Times Square, right? Mm-hmm. And it's humanity, culture,
lumber,
all this
deforestation.
Yeah, this human
factories,
artificial place, literally over top of like factories and deforestation and all that stuff, with words that are like, yeah, we're doing this, we're killing the world, and then the fire intercut later on as it gets a little more panicky. So all that.
Did you notice that the
visuals,
fire burst was superimposed over a sign for Frozen on Broadway?
I did notice that.
Wow, the deep meaning. That was like double meaning. Do you get it?
What? I don't get it.
Is it because it's because Frozen?
Why?
Is opposite of fire.
I don't get it.
I
don't get it. Explain it further. More.
This was so hard to keep a straight face during.
Yeah.
I can't imagine someone making this film and
just making this film. You just can't imagine someone making this film.
No. Okay, so like Taylor has said before. Okay, you've seen these kinds of films before.
Yes.
Where people have legit put together these images and said, "I'm making something that I think is worthy of other people wanting to watch."
Yeah, I've seen tons of movies just like
that.
This.
Well, however, that is not always the actual
that's not always motivation, right? And Taylor's
of
case,
people who are making more abstract films.
In Taylor's case, it wouldn't be.
Yeah, very often the audience is the filmmaker. Meaning they're making the movie for
well,
themselves.
Well, that's just besides the point, though.
Yeah,
besides the
gotcha.
point.
But they submitted it to Short Film Roundup, so
Yep.
that suggests they want other people to see it.
This, I mean, like, I have seen movies like this that are experimental, and to me, this feels like a first attempt at making an experimental film. Maybe somebody who hasn't really made much of many films and is like, I kind of have this idea of something I want to do through a certain tone, and just going out and trying to do it.
Yeah.
And being experimental, but it doesn't have a voice.
It doesn't have a voice.
It doesn't have a
yeah.
voice. I like that.
In my analysis, I would say that the message here is super, super, super on the nose.
Yes.
Filming in crowded
Over
places
the top,
and then putting all the forestation.
Literally
Very
on
preachy.
top of
Very
the
preachy.
same
Very
movie.
preachy. But then even in addition to that, I don't really understand the addition of Japanese titles that come in.
That's just called pretentious.
I mean, but what's it pretending to be? But
It's pretending to be
Be an art house film.
Yeah, an art house film.
And have a.
I mean, it
deeper
ends with
tone.
fiend.
right.
But
it even
actually though,
thing.
what's pretentious about it is not what it's saying, but the fact that it is Japanese.
That's what exactly.
That it's in Japanese, yeah.
Exactly.
Unless there is some personal, real meaning there that we don't know.
Yeah, but then
Yeah.
like, the final act, Burn It to the Ground, is in English, and the first act is in Latin.
Well, that's my biggest issue. That's my biggest issue is the English stuff. The English stuff
I
seems to
didn't
be
notice
like
that. That's
completely made up.
yeah.
The English stuff, I don't know how it connects at all.
The ones that say like I
Yeah.
see you or
Yeah.
I still feel you.
It's like it's like a different thing. Like, I don't even know what that's talking about. And I don't even know how to connect that other than like getting wild with interpretation. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
In terms of something we could learn from this film, what I'd like to go into is this idea of the rules of filmmaking and telling a story. I actually think still apply to tone poems and experimental films. It's just that instead of doing things with dialogues and actions, you're doing it with colors, sounds, levels of intensity,
Sure.
what have you. They still take you on a journey of sorts, although it not be anything you'd recognize as a traditional journey. It still moves you from a point A to a point B, either emotionally or thematically. Where this had no sense of journey. It might as well have been like a meme, right? Where it just says like, it could have just been a still photograph that said, "We're destroying the planet.
Yeah.
Humanity is dying," and be nothing more than that. And I think it has the same emotional resonance as this movie did.
That is interesting. That is something to take into consideration when you're making any kind of film, whether it's expressionist or whatever, is that you have a linear timeline to work with, and utilizing time for that message or for that expression is something you should be doing, right?
Well, that's the mode of filmmaking as it is, right?
Yes, images over time.
It's
Yeah.
images over time with a beginning and an end.
Right.
So what do you do? Do you travel through space or do you just stay in one spot?
Right.
And this felt
Right.
like we stayed in one spot.
I thought about that yesterday, just thinking about film in general, about how it's different from pictures. And you're quite right. You could say the same exact thing in a picture. And I think that is interesting.
Yeah.
If you could say the same thing in a photograph
Yeah.
as your movie did, then maybe your movie isn't.
It's kind of why I hate
Much of a
most
movie.
video games that are adapted from movies.
Oh, right. Because you're like, you know what? This story was told better by the movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah. So I want to mention this. Before we were sent to this place, the Void, we've
Void.
come to calling it.
Mm-hmm.
We had short film roundup was already a thing, but we were doing it from a real world location.
Yeah, where we could actually, control our lives. And
Yeah.
Go and do things.
I like that. Yeah.
And then we were sent a movie called E Pluribus Unum
yeah.
by Payman.
Yeah.
by Payman himself.
Who
Yes.
did curse us?
Yeah.
Yes. We were we were pretty brutal to
Extremely brutal.
that movie.
Yeah.
And this movie reminds me a lot of that movie.
Yeah.
I think this reminded us all of that movie.
Yeah.
And it's kind of
You can reference our Halloween episode, Halloween 2018 episode.
Yeah.
We could put a link in to see it.
We honestly, when looking over this film, thought that it was something that Payman himself would have submitted to us.
Yeah.
And it wasn't.
So I guess the thing that drove us crazy about that movie was that it relied so heavily on what we'd call like the art house trope sort of vibe, where it was just like, oh, I should do this because this is what a stereotypical art house movie does, right? Like putting Fiend at the end of the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless in this time you're trying to actually make a reference to that or make fun of that,
Yeah.
then it makes sense. But by just throwing that in, already you're now sort of you're putting your film in a very weird place. And the same thing with all these titles throughout and the other languages. Mm-hmm. It all just screams that you are trying to be something rather than just letting the movie be what it needs to be. And that's what pretension is.
Yeah. It is.
It's trying to be something that it's not.
Right.
Yeah. I have a question, specific question.
Yes.
When would it be appropriate to use Finn at the end
It's one
and
of those
be
things,
genuine about it?
Well, here's the thing. It's like ever since Scarlett O'Hara had her scene with Rhett Butler in Gone with the Wind, where he says, "Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn." Ever since that moment, it's now become completely unacceptable to use that line unless you're making a reference to Gone with the Wind or trying to emote a funny reaction, because that's the context that exists now in the world. So the point is, when you make a movie, unless you're making it just for yourself, you're throwing it out against the context that already exists in the audience's brains.
Yeah.
And in the audience brain, I believe that context is pretty solidified, that Fiend at the end of a movie is a gag that makes reference to pretentious, artsy French cinema sort of stuff.
But could you still do it anyway in a very genuine way?
I think
and
you
have
could
it work?
but in the same way that you would put the end over anything else.
Yeah.
Right.
Like if you're like a French filmmaker then and you do it?
So say like we have
I don't know. I don't know if that's true, actually.
No, okay, say like we have a movie that just ends with a title that says end.
Yeah.
Right. There's not many movies that do that.
Do that.
Yeah. So if they do that, there's usually a reason for doing it, and I think it would be the same exact or same thing to have a word like Finn or Fiend at the end.
I think if you did like if Quentin Tarantino put that at the end of one of his films, and he made stylistic choices throughout his film to sort of tie that in, then it all makes sense in that kind of movie.
Yeah.
But again, it's still carrying some of the weight of its original reference point.
Yeah. Sure.
I don't know if you can escape that. I really don't.
That's interesting.
I mean, if I saw that at the end of just a standard straight-laced movie where there's no context set up for that Fiend at the end, I would see the Fiend and go, "What the hell?"
That's what happened here.
Yeah.
Right.
That's funny. That's really interesting. I don't like that idea that like this
there's a
cultural
context.
Well, but
and then it can
yes,
infect
but your style of
choices,
filmmaking is first and foremost making your artistic expression for yourself.
Yeah.
That's what you've said.
Yeah.
Right? So that would make sense that would fly in the face of your sensibilities, of what you value.
Sure.
But the nature of filmmaking is there's always going to be two halves of the equation.
Sure.
Right? And as artists, we're all free to choose which half we care about. But the more you care about the audience half, the receiving half, the more that context becomes relevant.
Well,
right?
here's something to add on to that point. Horror movies, right, and just in general, build upon context of the world and the culture that it's in. The reason why we don't like Japanese kinds of movies in America is because it doesn't meld with our kind of American sensibilities. Same thing with American movies in Japan or American movies in Russia. We don't have the same cultural sensibilities, so cinema looks different. Horror movies in particular talk about cultural sensibilities for something that's like the pod people thing, right? Happened during the Red Scare, right? Am I right in that?
The pod people.
You mean the movie?
The pod people movie.
It's called Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That about lines up. Yeah,
It was a reaction to the Cold War.
So that
It's a cool movie.
It's a great movie.
Godzilla was a reaction to nuclear threat.
Yeah.
These are all things that tie in to cultural sensibilities, and the reason why we can't have like a vampire movie now that like really gets to our core is because it no longer makes sense within the cultural context that we have. So with that being said, I think cultural context is a huge player within any kind of film.
Well, it's because if you're writing for an audience, if your intention is to make an audience cry or to make them afraid, then you're going to have to understand what's already in their head,
right,
and then know what you have to put on the screen.
Well, and the point is that it's there
to match that.
The context exists no matter what.
Yeah.
And it's your choice whether or not to handle it or not. So saying fiend at the end of your movie, it doesn't matter if it itself is bad or good or whatever, doesn't matter. When you put it into a context that fiend only exists in certain things, then you're playing into it.
Unless you don't care about the audience.
Right.
Then it don't matter.
Right, but it still does exist within the context.
Although this does seem like a movie with a message.
Yeah, it does.
So
in this particular film, I don't think fiend, I don't think the Japanese titles, I really don't think any of it, I can't say that any of it was really, really believed in. I don't feel like the filmmaker believed in what they were.
You feel like it was
trying.
phoned in?
I don't feel like
fake.
I don't feel like this was. I honestly don't feel like this was a real stab at making a deep film.
Fake.
I don't want to say.
Let me just throw this out there, guys. I'm going out on a limb
okay.
here.
If Kenny's a crazy conspiracy theory.
Look,
he's gone off the deep end.
Hey. Let's shelve our debate about the moonwalk till later. Okay, we don't need to go into that now. Let's just shelve that.
I just want to say that
it just permeates.
I want to say what you're about to say.
Yeah.
Is not just from Kenny. It arose from all three of us. I want to say that.
And I rejected it though.
You rejected it
in the end.
I don't buy it.
Here I go.
Tell them what we're talking about.
I have a sneaky suspicion that we might be getting catfished. Because Jéan Di Coque, this is his only piece of video content on the internet, at least under that name. We did our due diligence to try to find more from this guy.
Yeah.
And his YouTube channel was made and this film uploaded virtually the same day that it was submitted to us.
It was uploaded the same day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it feels, if anyone has watched many episodes of Short Film Roundup, and especially if they've seen the payment episode, they would know that this is exactly the type of movie that we tend to be the most ruffled, feathered by.
Yeah.
Right?
Are the ones that are pretentious. I don't know what else to say about it.
Plus his description of this of the film on YouTube is a new nightmare from visionary director Jéan Di Coque.
Yeah. Whose name doesn't exist on
which
Facebook.
Once again is whether the film was pretentious or not. That's a rather pretentious way to describe your piece of art.
Very much, yeah.
I'm calling out. I'm calling out. Catfish.
We're still out a bit, but yeah.
I don't think so.
Taylor believes in the Taylor.
I don't want to undermine the
Taylor's a good
genuine
human being.
Intentions.
He believes
if this is somebody's first ever attempt at making a movie. I don't want to undermine that. I want to give it a proper analysis. And the other thing
we gave it a great analysis.
But I've seen this before. Like I've seen experimental films that are just like this, that have
that's true.
very low views.
That's true. There's
have
just
0 subscribers,
there's just
brand new
too-
channel.
There's too much coincidence here.
I don't think it's coincidence.
Exactly.
When you said it was there. Oh, I don't know what to say. That's weird. It's there. There's
So
there's
first
no,
question.
there's nothing there.
All right, go to
It's not-
questions.
it's just there's nothing there.
Smoke and mirrors, huh?
It's all smoke and mirrors. It's all
This is all-
conspiracy. You're a conspiracy
There you go
nut.
again. There you
You're
go
a conspiracy
again.
crazy
Taylor,
conspiracy
Taylor,
nut.
How
all
does
right?
a moon wave? How does a flag wave on the moon, Taylor? How
Moon-
does a flag
there's
wave
moon
on
wind.
the moon?
There's moon wind.
No wind on
There's
the moon,
moon wind.
Taylor.
There's moon wind.
Don't even get me started on the two towers, the twin towers. Don't even get me started.
You're okay.
Oh
hold on.
my
No,
gosh.
no. I gotta talk here.
What?
Real talk.
What?
You're blending jokes here. This is too weird. Our audience is gonna think you're just some nutcase. You can't do that.
We can do
He is a
that.
nutcase.
I'm a
He's a
nutcase.
conspiracy nut.
We're still going, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. Questions. So this is the time in the program. This is the time
They
in the
get it.
program.
Our audience gets it. Okay, they're not dumb. They know what's
We've
going on.
taken them along
Yeah,
for
they
some crazy
got it.
rides already. I don't care. Who cares what the audience thinks?
Exactly,
Who cares?
dude.
I'm an artist, man. I just do stuff for myself. I don't care about the audience. We practice dad theory. Dad theory.
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. It is question time. That is the time of the show where we ask questions directly to the filmmaker, if you're a real person. So my first question is, are you a real person? And prove it. Prove it. Prove it.
Prove you're real.
My first question is, who are you?
That dovetails on mine.
Yeah, yeah.
Pretty much.
I'm curious too.
See, you're
'cause
suspicious. He's
I'm not.
suspicious.
It is interesting that you don't have any other movies on there, and that it seems to be out of nowhere. So I want to know what your past experience is like, if you've made other movies, or if this is your first attempt at a movie, or if you are trolling us.
If it looks like a pig.
And I'll be the fool, all right. If I took the bait, I'll admit it. I'll take the bait. I've taken the bait, okay.
How would they ever?
But
How
just-
would we ever prove it? We'll never know. We
He'll
know we're
come out,
never
yeah.
going to know.
He's just gonna run us along if he is.
Is he just going to
gonna
submit
string-
another
yeah.
movie?
Yeah. Now we'll never know. He could be genuine, and there's always going to be this doubt now.
Yeah.
Even if he is genuine,
This
you're going to be like, nah, that's not right. He's stringing us along.
He's gonna Skype in and everything. Then
Yeah.
we'll have a filmmaker chat with him on Film Alchemist, and we're like, "You're not real, guy.
Yeah.
You're not real. You're hired actor."
That's my issue. Nothing's good enough.
Confirmation bias.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing's good enough, all right?
So, my question would be:
Is it about the film actually?
Yes, it is.
Oh, good.
My question is,
It's a weird episode.
yeah, this is a weird episode. It's kind of meta.
This movie merited a weird episode.
This movie destroyed us. This movie tore us apart.
Okay, about the actual film.
That's what he wanted.
About the actual film. Why the Japanese subtitles, or not subtitles? Why the Japanese titles at all? I saw that they said death is all around us, and in the air, or death is in the air, something like that.
I died yesterday.
I died. Yeah, I died.
And something about why practice Zen.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So, why are those in there? I know it ties into a theme here of death of humanity. Why did you feel like you had to make this film? Is there something specific that you're trying to say to a specific audience? Do you want people just to understand, hey, this is, you're doing bad things to the earth? Why is your first title in Latin? And your last title in French?
Did you make that fireball, or is it just stock?
That's video blocks.
Because I like that fireball.
That's video blocks.
I'm gonna let.
No. I want to know if the music is original, because it feels like it is.
That's some dang good music. I've heard it before.
Shut up.
I've
have.
heard it before.
Shut up.
Heard it before.
Shut up, both of you.
It's not original.
music.
Dude, if that's original music, that would be the first credit on this movie. That would be the
Oh
first
yeah,
credit.
there's no credits either.
Who are your influences? as
Timothy
a
J. Coxe.
filmmaker.
Timothy J. Coxe is his influence. That's his influence.
Are you influenced by Timothy J. Coxe? He is a phenomenal character actor. I can tell by your footage you're from New York, so you've probably heard of him. He's famous there.
He's very famous.
What else? Who are your influences? The Japanese titles had a very Wes Anderson vibe. The Act 1 bit has a very Wes Anderson vibe. The rest just has a fake vibe.
This would be a really interesting analytical video to talk about why films feel like jokes.
We've
done that before.
Well,
haven't we?
let's be honest. We've had several films submitted to us that have given us this same feeling.
Yeah.
Where we didn't assume that it was a fake person.
No.
But we said this feels like a joke.
Yeah, and I won't name names, but yeah, there have been a few
There
times.
there was one that we just laughed throughout the whole movie, and it wasn't a comedy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a couple, I'm sure.
That's no secret, though. We talked about that in that episode.
Oh yeah,
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't
That's
know.
how we started that episode.
Yeah, that was
Where
the,
that was Enderdeep's
yeah,
super drama.
yep.
Oh, right.
He made a drama that was over the top dramatic,
That
and
felt
so
like a comedy. Right?
to us it felt like it was
Absurdist.
parody. Yeah.
Sorry, not a comedy. Absurdist.
Absurdist. Yeah, it's a very different, very nice. It's a different thing.
It's
Isn't it?
absurdist.
Absurdist.
There's
so
a difference, all right.
is this episode
I'm
over?
on edge.
Jeez.
Is this episode over? Do we have more to say?
No,
No.
Finn.
Good. Oh, see what he did.
no, that was genuine. That was a good use of it. Okay.
Oh, okay. That
Remove your context. Free your brain.
sheeple.
Yeah, sheeple. Free your brain. Context rules your life, doesn't it?
Is that a Death Classic shirt?
Yeah, that's a Death Classic shirt. Yeah, I bet. Yeah, got a problem with that? I bet you don't understand the context.